You know I had to do it for the memes. Thank you to all the people that said bless you out there. Sorry, I have allergies. That's why I sneeze so much. But anyway, let's get straight into this. Now, I'm not gonna say Deku was one of those, black people that lived in the suburbs. Nah, I'm gonna make him come up from the dirt. He gonna come up from the dirt. You heard me. So, I'm gonna say Deku's ability is meaningless shadow. Now, the reason for this is because his quirk when it first developed was useless. His quirk was literally just to control shadows, which I know a lot of people can see a way to make that very powerful. But inside of this world, nobody really thinks that way. So they all just called Izuku's quirk useless, which kind of hurt Izuku because he thought he was gonna have some epic power like All Might's, which he still does fanboy, but he does live inside the hood. I'm gonna say he lives. I'm gonna say he lives in Chicago. Well, he lived in Chicago. Cause bitch, we not from 63rd stretch gang. Let me stop. 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 Anyway, yeah, he lived in Chicago. Now I'm gonna say he came from 64th and from 65th. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me stop. For real. For real. For real. For real. For real. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I be wondering if I'm making you guys laugh. Answer that in comments. Do I make you guys laugh? Okay, back to the video. Now, Deku would wear some Tims. Yep, I'm gonna make him real black. Um, he gonna have a gold chain on because you gotta. I'm gonna say Deku for a while was involved with some gang work, but he didn't actually join up. So then he didn't have to stay forever because he did plan on being a hero. He just had to make some extra money to support his mom and his friends. Post up on a gang. So after he made enough money, which since he was young, he had enough money to save. So he saved up his money, and they end up getting enough money to move to Japan, and also to buy a nice house. Which I ain't gonna lie, this was still in the hood. This was still in the hood part of Japan, but it was a nice house inside of Japan. So people rarely didn't expect anybody to move in since you know they was in the hood. But anyway. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna say Izuku went with disciples. Anyway, Izuku's first day inside the hood, a guy walks up to his house, knocks on his door, and then he says, "What's up? You gonna have to sign a hood pass." He like, nigga, hood pass, hood pass yourself off my doorstep, nigga. So the guy then pulls out a glizzy, and he says hood pass, and Izuku says, "Please don't make me kill you." Cause I really wouldn't like to start off my first day to go to UA to end up a murderer. Which of course the guy posts up and tries to shoot at Izuku, but since his quirk is shadow manipulation, he makes him drop into the shadow, and then he says, "I'm gonna keep you in here for a few days, see how you last." The guy then starts screaming, and Izuku closes up the portal. Now everybody outside saw this, and it was like, he looked like a nigga I ain't gonna snitch on, cause that guy was inside it. That nigga was gang, you know, he was gang. So um, nobody really messed with Izuku, except for a few people that wanted to help their friend, which they he literally just teleported them to the exact same place He said every single person that comes to my doorstep is going to go to the shadow dimension. I'm just going to tell you guys right now. But 10 months of training. Yeah, he's not gonna meet Bakugo inside of this one yet, just yet. Now, I'm gonna say, Izuku for the 10 months of training, he just works on controlling his shadows a little bit more. Like he just works on manipulating his shadows. Like he's learning how to pick up his shadows off of the ground and use them as death saucers. He can basically drop one of somebody's foots and then basically close the portal and chop them off. He tried that with a mannequin, of course, which he is on the beach, and he's basically testing out his power. And then he says, "Well, I do watch anime. I wonder if this will work." He then drops himself through the shadow dimension, basically making himself teleport to shadow. So basically, this means that as long as Izuku knows where he's going and knows how the shadows move during the time, or just knows where he's going in general, he is able to teleport basically anywhere, even from a map. If he sees a shadow from a map or Google Maps, he can teleport there since he's seen it and he knows where the shadows are. Now, Izuku then walks down to school, and of course, he sees somebody from another gang, posting up. This is the other side of the hood. He had to walk through somebody's hood, which if you did not know, that's real disrespectful. You're supposed to take the longer way. Sometimes you can do it, but it's safer to use the longer way, because the gang, you don't want to die. But basically they talking all that rah rah to Izuku, and basically Izuku's like, my nigga, get the fuck up out my face before I chop off every single last one of your limbs. The guy then laughs and then says, "Little gangster think he's something." Then he decides to punch Izuku in the face, which he doesn't go flying back like inside of every other anime. He just gets punched in the face. And then Izuku looks back at him after he got punched in the face and he said, "I really didn't want to kill you." And he says, "What?" And then Izuku teleports the guy, but he teleports him inside the sun. Now, the thing about the sun is, Izuku did this with a rock just in case he did the shadow thing wrong. Teleporting into the sun, when you go through a shadow dimension, you have to go into a shadow, and if you don't, basically you burn to death because your skin, when you teleport through the shadow dimension, is more vulnerable. So you have to teleport into a shadow immediately, at least for a second, and then you can walk outside the shadow. So the guys, like, literally just flesh and bones, and the other guys post up on a block, and then they start shooting at Izuku, which Izuku just solves this with literally catching all the bullets with a shadow portal. And since things do move infinitely through the shadow dimension, he just turns it back on and then shoots all their shots back at them. Then he's like, self-defense, I guess. Now, nothing was caught on cameras because I'm gonna say at this part of town, nobody was trying to put up cameras. They didn't really care about cameras. So, you know. So Izuku walks down to school, and walks down to the testing area, and he's just ready until he bumps into Bakugo. And at this point, Bakugo is used to bullying people. And Izuku says, "Excuse you." He says, "What? You're the one that bumped into me." Izuku then says, "Bruh, you bumped into me. Apple's walking forward. You were walking sideways. You bumped into me, technically. I was just walking like a normal person." And Bakugo just gets irritated by this, starts creating explosions, and then he said, "What did you say? Are you calling me a liar?" And then he says, "Why do people always have to resort to violence?" And Bakugo's like, "What?" And he's like, if you don't resort to violence, I'll think about not beating the absolute crap out of you because there's too many witnesses to kill you." Now, of course, Bakugo keeps on yapping his mouth. So Izuku opens up a shadow portal right below him, and then the infinite shadows, they come up, basically punching him and going back down and then punching him and then going back down and then punching him. So basically, they're infinitely punching Bakugo until Bakugo's bloodied and bruised and basically falls down, which somebody calls tells somebody from the school, and he gets healed by Recovery Girl. Now, Recovery Girl's like, "This was a simple task, but who did this to you?" Which Bakugo's in a stitch. He likes to handle things his own way, so he doesn't tell her. She's like, "Fine, fine, fine. I know you kids these days don't really tell on your friends, but so I'm gonna just let you go." And he like, "Alright." So, you know, let's get into the actual destruction of this video. Now, now, Izuku passes the test with flying colors because he's still smart, and he then gets to the robots. Now, only a very smart person would think of this. What he does is, since there's various shadows, this is what Izuku does. First off, he covers his body in shadows, which, by the way, is possible. You know, the shadow behind you or in front of you or wherever your shadow is sometimes. Well, he took his shadow from off the ground, covered it around his body, and since he can control shadows by will, he then flies upwards because he can control them. And then Izuku says, "World of Darkness," and then snaps his fingers. By the way, the people are still trying to like run to the testing ground. Ida's almost there, but all of a sudden, he hits a black dome, and then everybody looks up and they see Izuku. They see Izuku smiling, and then he says Shadow World, and then he closes his hands and then he says total destruction. The entire dome gets like it turns pitch black. You can't see anything inside of it. You can't even hear explosions. That's how well Izuku has his dome up. Sorry if I'm stopping. I have allergies that like apparently my allergies picked this video to act up. Back into the video. Now Izuku takes down the force field and all the robots are gone. Like every single one, even the 0.0. And he flies back downwards and then lets his shadow go back to where it was. And then he walks away. It didn't destroy any actual buildings. It just destroyed everything that he was looking at. Even when he couldn't see inside, he had sort of a double vision knowing where everything was. He could physically feel where everything was just by the shadows that they had. Izuku then walks away and then he says, "I'm pretty sure I got top scores, so you guys should probably wait until they replace the robots." Now, few people heard what happened to them guys when Izuku was walking past the block. So one of the guys say, "Hey, little nigga," and then Izuku looks back and then he says, "What up?" And then he says, "What size of them shoes?" And then he says, "11s. Why you asking?" And then he says, "Hey, how about you give me them Tims? I'll give them right back." Izuku's basically like, "What do I look like to you?" Um, fuck, I can't think. He says, "What do I look like to you?" Homeless shelter. The guy then gets a mean look on his face, and then he shoots a beam of energy at Izuku, which Izuku just puts a portal right in front of him. Izuku then says, "Here's the thing, my guy. If I wanted to right now, I could kill you. Which I'm going to, of course, do because you've annoyed me now. I really, really, really wanted to act nice. But niggas around this neighborhood don't show me respect." He then puts a portal under the guy's feet and then lifts the portal upwards and then drops the guys at the same place. Which the portal wasn't a shadow itself. So it was a shadow, but like it didn't put a shadow above him. So then his skin starts burning off along with his clothes. And basically, the guy's somehow still alive. The guy had a minor healing quirk, which basically saved his life. Deku then kicks him, his bloodied body. Now the guy hits the ground and he rolls onto rocks, which then makes it make his skin howl like. If I could describe how painful it would be, I would. But he just screams out in pain, and Izuku says, "Good thing you had a healing quirk. You would have died. Actually, I'm pretty sure you would have died." He then walks away. That's where we're going to end it off, you guys. I am Moon Dust Riffs. This video was for the memes, and I hope you guys like it. If you want a second part, or maybe a third part, or just any other part, contact me on the contact me. Just basically go inside the comments or go to discussions tab, and then tell me you want another part to this. If you guys have any ideas for a video, I would appreciate it. Please get me to 70 subscribers by like 2 days, which wouldn't be the end of the week. It would be the end of the school days. Then it will be the weekend. So, you know. And I'll see you guys later. Bye. Nalisa Koshi.